Miguel gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. The windshield wipers fought against the torrential rain that battered the city that October night. In the back seat, his 8-year-old son Tomás slept wrapped in a warm blanket, oblivious to the worries consuming his father. They had been evicted that morning. 3 months behind on rent had been enough for the landlord to lose patience. Miguel had begged, had promised to get the money, but promises don't pay debts. His savings had run dry when he lost his job at the textile factory 6 months ago, and the part-time jobs he managed to find barely covered food. The car was all they had left, and he wasn't even sure he could keep it much longer. The tank was nearly empty, he had $20 in his pocket, and he didn't know where they were going to sleep that night. That's when he saw her. A small figure walked along the sidewalk, soaked to the bone. She was a girl, couldn't be more than 16, with black hair plastered to her face and shivering from cold. She wore clothes that had once been elegant, a white blouse now transparent from the rain and black pants that were too big for her. Miguel slowed down. Every instinct as a father screamed at him to help, but his practical mind reminded him of their own desperate situation. He had his son to think about, their own survival to worry about. But when he saw the girl stumble and nearly fall, he couldn't drive past. He pulled over and rolled down the window. "Hey! Are you okay?" The girl looked up, startled. Her eyes were red from crying, and Miguel could see she was terrified. She took a step back, ready to run. "I'm not going to hurt you," Miguel said quickly. "You're soaking wet. Do you need help?" The girl hesitated, looking between Miguel and the warm, dry interior of the car. Rain dripped from her hair onto the pavement. I don't have anywhere to go," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the storm. Miguel's heart broke. She reminded him of the daughter he'd always wanted to give Tomás, a sister to play with, to protect. But life had dealt them different cards. "What's your name?" "Sofia," she said, wrapping her arms around herself. "I'm Miguel. That's my son Tomás in the back seat." He paused, knowing he was about to make a decision that could complicate their already impossible situation. "Look, I'm not going to lie to you. We don't have much. We're homeless right now too. But if you want, you can stay with us tonight. At least until the storm passes." Sofia's eyes widened. For a moment, Miguel thought she might refuse, might think he was some kind of predator. But desperation has a way of making decisions for you. "Thank you," she whispered and climbed into the passenger seat. The warmth of the car's heater hit her immediately, and she began to shiver more violently as her body tried to warm up. Miguel reached into the back and grabbed a spare jacket, handing it to her. "Here, put this on." As Sofia wrapped herself in the jacket, Tomás stirred in the back seat. "Dad? Who's that?" "This is Sofia, Mijo. She needed help, just like we do sometimes." Tomás rubbed his eyes and looked at the soaked girl with the innocent curiosity of childhood. "Are you okay, Sofia?" She turned to look at him, and for the first time, Miguel saw her smile slightly. "I am now, thank you." Miguel drove through the empty streets, looking for somewhere they could spend the night. The homeless shelters were probably full on a night like this, and he didn't have money for a motel. Finally, he remembered the old warehouse district where he used to work. There was a covered loading dock that might provide some shelter. "Where are we going?" Sofia asked quietly. "Somewhere dry," Miguel replied. "It's not much, but it's better than being in the rain." As they drove, Sofia remained silent, staring out the window. Miguel could sense there was more to her story, but he didn't push. Everyone had their secrets, their reasons for ending up on the streets. When they reached the loading dock, Miguel parked the car and turned off the engine. The sudden silence was almost deafening after hours of rain drumming on the roof. "We can sleep in the car," Miguel said. "It's not comfortable, but it's warm and dry." They arranged themselves as best they could. Tomás curled up in the back seat with his blanket, while Miguel gave Sofia the front passenger seat, which reclined almost flat. He would sleep upright behind the wheel. "Mr. Miguel?" Sofia's voice was soft in the darkness. "Yeah, why did you help me? You don't even know me." Miguel was quiet for a long moment. "Because someone helped me once, when Tomás's mother left us. A stranger gave me $20 for diapers when I was too proud to ask. Said the only payment he wanted was for me to help someone else when I could. But you said you're homeless too. Doesn't mean I can't share what little I have." Sofia was silent for a while, and Miguel thought she had fallen asleep. Then, quietly, she began to talk. "My father, he's not a good man. He has money, lots of it, but he's not good. When my mother died 2 years ago, he changed. Started drinking more, bringing strange people to the house. Men who looked at me in ways that made me scared. Miguel's jaw tightened. He'd heard stories like this before, and they never ended well. Last week, he told me I needed to earn my keep around the house. Said I wasn't a little girl anymore and needed to start acting like a woman. When I said no, he hit me. Hard. So I ran. The rain continued to pound on the car roof, but inside, the silence was heavy with pain and anger. You did the right thing, Miguel said finally. No one should ever hurt you like that. But now I have nothing. No money, no friends, nowhere to go. I've been on the streets for 3 days. Miguel turned to look at her. Even in the dim light from the street lamp, he could see the bruise on her cheek that he'd missed earlier. You have somewhere to go tonight, he said firmly. And tomorrow, we'll figure out the next step. As if on cue, Tomas spoke up from the back seat, his voice sleepy but determined. Yeah, Sophia. Dad always figures things out. He's the best dad in the world, even when we don't have a house. Sophia laughed softly, the first genuine laugh Miguel had heard from her. He sounds pretty great. He is. He reads me stories even when he's really tired, and he always saves the best parts of dinner for me, even when there's not much food. Miguel felt his throat tighten. His son's faith in him was both a blessing and a burden. How could he live up to that trust when he couldn't even provide a roof over their heads? The next few hours passed fitfully. None of them slept well in the cramped car, but at least they were dry and relatively warm. Around dawn, Miguel woke to find Sophia crying quietly. Hey, he whispered, not wanting to wake Tomas. What's wrong? I keep thinking about what I'm going to do. I can't go back, but I can't stay on the streets either. I'm only 16, no one will hire me without papers, without an address. Miguel rubbed his face, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. He had enough problems taking care of his own son, but he couldn't just abandon this girl. We'll figure something out, he said, though he had no idea what. As the sun rose, they drove to a public restroom where they could clean up. Miguel used the last of his money to buy them breakfast from a vending machine, stale sandwiches and warm soda, but it was something. They sat on a bench outside a closed storefront, eating in silence. Other early morning commuters hurried past, dressed in suits and carrying briefcases, heading to jobs and homes that seemed like luxuries from another world. Dad, Tomas said suddenly, why don't we call Grandpa? Miguel's expression darkened. You know why, Mijo, but maybe he's changed. Maybe he'd help us now. Sophia looked between father and son, sensing another painful family story. My father disowned me when I married Tomas's mother, Miguel explained to Sophia. Said she wasn't good enough for our family name. When she left us, I thought about crawling back to him, begging for help. But I couldn't do it. Wouldn't give him the satisfaction. Pride doesn't keep you warm at night, Sophia said quietly. Miguel looked at her sharply. What did you say? My mother used to say that. Pride doesn't keep you warm at night, Sophia. Sometimes you have to swallow it to survive. The words hit Miguel like a physical blow. Here was a 16-year-old girl, who had fled an abusive home, giving him advice about swallowing his pride. The irony wasn't lost on him. His phone, which he'd been rationing battery life on, buzzed with a text message. It was from his former supervisor at the textile factory. Miguel heard about a job opening at the warehouse on 5th Street. Day shift, starts Monday. Reference available if interested. For the first time in months, Miguel felt a flicker of hope. It wasn't much, but it was a chance. Good news? Sophia asked, seeing his expression change. Maybe. There might be a job opening. But it doesn't start until Monday, and we need somewhere to stay until then. That's when Sophia made a decision that would change everything. I know where we can go, she said quietly. Where? She hesitated, then pulled out a crumpled business card from her pocket. The elegant script read, Victoria Castellanos, CEO, Castellanos Industries. Miguel frowned. Who's this? Sophia took a deep breath. My mother's sister. My aunt. She and my father hate each other. He cut off all contact with my mother's family when they got married. But maybe she'd help. The business card felt expensive between Miguel's fingers. The company name sounded familiar, he'd seen it on billboards around the city. Sophia, if your aunt is rich, why didn't you go to her first? Because I was scared. My father always said terrible things about my mother's family, said they were cruel and would use me. But maybe he was lying. Maybe he just didn't want me to know I had other options. Miguel stared at the card. The address was in the wealthy part of town, where people like him only went to work as janitors or gardeners. "We can't just show up at her door," he said. "Why not? What's the worst that could happen? She says no, and we're right back where we started." Tomas, who had been listening intently, piped up. "I think we should try. Sophia's family should help her." Miguel looked at his son, then at Sofia, then at the business card. Every rational part of his mind said this was a bad idea. Rich people didn't just help homeless strangers, even if one of them claimed to be family. But what choice did they have? "Okay," he said finally. "But we do this right. We clean up as best we can, we're respectful, and if she says no, we don't argue." Sofia nodded eagerly. "There's a gas station with a bathroom 2 blocks from her office building. We could clean up there." As they walked back to the car, Miguel couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking towards something that would change their lives forever. He just didn't know if it would be for better or worse. The drive across town was tense. Miguel's old car seemed even more beaten up in the wealthy district, surrounded by luxury vehicles and pristine buildings. He parked 3 blocks away from the Castellanos Industries building, not wanting to draw attention. At the gas station, they did their best to make themselves presentable. Miguel shaved with a disposable razor, Sofia combed her hair and tried to smooth out the wrinkles in her clothes, and Tomas washed his face and hands until they were spotless. Standing outside the gleaming glass building, Miguel felt like they were from another planet. The lobby was all marble and chrome, with a security desk that looked more intimidating than welcoming. "Maybe this isn't such a good idea," Miguel muttered. But Sofia was already walking toward the building, her chin raised with determination. "We've come this far." The security guard looked them up and down with obvious suspicion when Sofia asked to see Victoria Castellanos. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but I'm her niece. Sofia Restrepo." The guard's expression changed slightly. He picked up his phone and spoke in low tones for several minutes. When he hung up, he looked genuinely surprised. "She'll see you. 37th floor." The elevator ride felt like it lasted forever. Miguel could feel his heart pounding as they rose higher and higher. Beside him, Sofia was pale but determined. Tomas pressed his face against the glass, marveling at the view of the city shrinking below them. The elevator doors opened to reveal a reception area that looked like something from a magazine. Behind a massive desk sat a woman in her 40s, with Sofia's same dark hair but wearing a suit that probably cost more than Miguel made in a month. Victoria Castellanos stood up slowly, her eyes fixed on Sofia. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Victoria whispered, "Dios mío. You look exactly like your mother." And that's when Miguel realized that this girl, this homeless teenager he'd picked up in the rain, was about to turn their world completely upside down. But just as the emotional reunion was about to unfold, just as Victoria stepped around her desk with tears in her eyes, Miguel's phone rang with an emergency call that would shatter this moment of hope and plunge them into an even deeper crisis. If you're enjoying this dramatic story and want to see how Miguel, Sofia, and Tomas navigate this life-changing moment, please like this post, subscribe for more incredible stories, and share it with someone who loves powerful, emotional tales. Your support helps bring these stories to life. The phone call was from the police. Miguel's car had been reported as suspicious in the wealthy neighborhood. They wanted him to come down immediately to answer some questions, and if he didn't, they'd issue a warrant. As Victoria froze mid-step and Sofia's face crumpled with the realization that their one chance at salvation was slipping away, Miguel knew that Chapter 2 would test them all in ways they never imagined. Miguel's hands shook as he ended the call. The police officer's words echoed in his mind, "We have reports of a suspicious vehicle with possible kidnapping victims. You need to come to the station immediately, or we'll issue a warrant." Victoria Castellanos stood frozen behind her desk, her eyes darting between Sofia and Miguel with growing alarm. The tearful reunion she'd been approaching had suddenly turned into something much more complicated. "What's happening?" Sofia whispered, but Miguel could see the fear creeping back into her eyes, the same terror he'd seen when he first found her in the rain. "Dad?" Tomas tugged at Miguel's jacket, sensing the tension in the room. Miguel knelt down to his son's level, trying to keep his voice calm. "Mijo, I need you to stay here with Sofia, okay? I have to go talk to some people. Are you in trouble?" Before Miguel could answer, Victoria stepped forward. "Excuse me, but I need to understand what's going on here. Sofia, who is this man? How do you know him?" The suspicion in her voice cut through Miguel like a knife. He could see it happening, the wealthy aunt jumping to the worst conclusions about the homeless man who'd brought her niece to her door. "He saved me," Sofia said quietly. "He found me on the street and gave me shelter when no one else would." But Victoria's expression remained guarded. Sophia, honey, you've been missing for days. Your father has had half the city looking for you. He filed a police report, said you might have been taken by someone. Miguel felt the ground shifting beneath his feet. Her father? The one who was abusing her. Abusing her? Victoria's voice rose an octave. What are you talking about? Roberto Castellanos is my business partner. He's been frantic with worry. The room went silent except for the hum of the air conditioning. Miguel could feel everything unraveling around him. Wait, Sophia said, her voice barely a whisper. Roberto Castellanos is your business partner? Victoria nodded slowly. He's my brother-in-law. After your mother died, we've been trying to rebuild our relationship with your family. He told me you've been acting out, getting into trouble, but abuse? She looked at Miguel with growing suspicion. Sir, I think you need to explain exactly how you came to have my niece with you. Miguel's mind raced. The wealthy businessman Sophia had described as her abusive father was Victoria's business partner. Either Sophia had lied to him, or there was something much more complicated going on. Tell her, Miguel said to Sophia. Tell her what you told me about your father. But Sophia had gone pale, backing toward the wall. I can't. You don't understand. Don't understand what? Victoria demanded. That's when Tomas, with the brutal honesty of childhood, spoke up. Sophia said her dad hurt her and tried to make her do bad things. That's why she ran away. Victoria's face went white. She sank into her chair, staring at Sophia. Is that true? Sophia burst into tears. You won't believe me. No one ever believes me. He's too important, too powerful. Try me, Victoria said quietly. Through her sobs, Sophia told the same story she'd shared with Miguel in the car. The drinking, the inappropriate men, the demands that she earn her keep, the violence when she refused. But now she added details that made Miguel's blood run cold. He said no one would believe me because he gives money to charities, because everyone thinks he's such a good man. He said if I told anyone, he'd make sure I disappeared and no one would ever find me. Victoria listened in stunned silence. When Sophia finished, the office was quiet except for the sound of crying. My God, Victoria whispered. Roberto always seemed so normal in our business meetings. Professional. I never imagined. Miguel's phone rang again. The police. Mr. Herrera, you have 30 minutes to get to the station, or we're issuing a warrant and coming to find you. I have to go, Miguel said, standing up. But before I do, I need you to know something, Ms. Castellanos. I didn't kidnap your niece. I found her dying of hypothermia in the rain, and I gave her shelter because it was the right thing to do. My son and I are homeless, we have nothing, but we shared what little we had because that's what decent people do. Victoria looked at him for a long moment. I believe you, she said finally. But the police won't care about good intentions if Roberto has convinced them you're a kidnapper. What are we going to do? Sophia asked desperately. Victoria stood up, and Miguel could see her switching from concerned aunt to powerful CEO. We're going to fix this. But it's going to require some difficult choices. She walked to her desk and picked up the phone. Get me my lawyer. Now. While they waited, Victoria explained the situation. Roberto Castellanos wasn't just Sophia's father, he was one of the most powerful men in the city. He owned construction companies, had political connections, and had donated millions to local charities. If he wanted Miguel to disappear into the system, he had the resources to make it happen. But he's also my business partner, Victoria said grimly. And if what Sophia is saying is true, I have some leverage of my own. The lawyer arrived within 20 minutes, a sharp-dressed woman who listened to the story with the detached professionalism of someone who'd heard it all before. Here's the situation, she said when Sophia finished speaking. Without physical evidence or witnesses, it's Sophia's word against a powerful man's. The police report paints Miguel as a possible kidnapper, and Roberto as a worried father. If Miguel goes to the station alone, he could be arrested and charged. So what do we do? Miguel asked. We go on the offensive. Victoria, you're going to call Roberto and demand a meeting. Today. Here in your office. You're going to tell him you have Sophia and that you want to discuss her behavioral problems as partners. And then Sophia is going to confront him. With witnesses. With recording equipment. We're going to get him to admit what he's done. Sophia shook her head frantically. I can't. You don't know what he's like when he's angry. He'll hurt me, not with Victoria and Miguel there. Not with security cameras rolling. Not with my law firm representing you. Miguel looked around the room, at the luxury he'd never dreamed of, at the powerful people making plans, at his son who was trying so hard to understand the adult world crashing down around them. What happens to Tomas and me after this? He asked quietly. Victoria met his eyes. That depends on what kind of man you are, Miguel. Are you the kind who disappears once Sofia is safe? Or are you the kind who sticks around to make sure justice is done? It was a fair question. Miguel had his own problems, his own survival to worry about. But looking at Sofia, seeing the terror in her eyes at the thought of facing her father, he knew he couldn't abandon her now. I'll stay, he said. Whatever it takes. The next hour was a whirlwind of preparation. Victoria's lawyer coached Sofia on what to say, how to get Roberto to admit his crimes on record. Miguel called the police and explained that he was coming in with legal representation to clear up a misunderstanding. Tomas was given coloring books and settled in Victoria's conference room with snacks and a security guard who doubled as a babysitter. At exactly 3 p.m., Roberto Castellanos arrived. Miguel had expected someone obviously sinister, but Roberto looked like any other successful businessman. Well-dressed, confident, with the kind of smile that probably charmed investors and charity boards. Only when his eyes fell on Sofia did Miguel see something cold and predatory flash across his face. Sofia, Mija, thank God you're safe, Roberto said, moving toward her with arms outstretched. Sofia pressed herself against the wall. Don't touch me. Roberto's expression shifted, becoming hurt and confused, a perfect performance for the audience. Victoria, I told you she's been having problems. Behavioral issues. Therapy hasn't been helping. Sit down, Roberto, Victoria said coldly. We need to talk. As Roberto took a seat, Miguel noticed the man's eyes scanning the room, taking in the security cameras, the lawyer, Miguel himself. This wasn't a man who'd been caught off guard, this was someone calculating his next move. Sofia has made some very serious accusations, Victoria began. Roberto's laugh was perfectly calibrated, concerned, sad, just a touch of frustration. Victoria, I know Sofia is your blood, but you have to understand what I've been dealing with. Ever since her mother died, she's been difficult. Making up stories, acting out sexually, stealing money from my wallet. That's not true. Sofia burst out. Mija, we've talked about this with Dr. Rodriguez. He explained that sometimes when young girls are developing, they create fantasies. Stop lying. Sofia screamed. Tell them about the men you brought to the house. Tell them what you wanted me to do with them. Roberto's mask slipped for just a second. Miguel caught a flash of genuine anger before the concerned father expression returned. This is exactly what I mean, Roberto said sadly. These violent outbursts, these sexual fantasies. Dr. Rodriguez thinks she might need inpatient treatment. Miguel felt sick. The man was good, really good. If Miguel didn't know better, he might believe the performance himself. But Victoria wasn't buying it. Roberto, I want you to look me in the eye and tell me you never laid a hand on Sofia. Never brought inappropriate men around her. Never made any sexual demands. Roberto met her gaze steadily. I have never done anything inappropriate with my daughter. I love her, Victoria. Everything I've done has been trying to get her the help she needs. The room was silent. Miguel could see doubt creeping into the lawyer's expression. Without concrete evidence, it really was just Sofia's word against her father's, and Roberto was playing his part perfectly. That's when Sofia did something that shocked everyone. She walked over to Roberto's chair and, before anyone could stop her, grabbed his phone from his jacket pocket. Sofia, what are you? Roberto lunged for the phone, but Miguel stepped between them. Let her talk, Miguel said firmly. Sofia's fingers flew over the phone screen. You think you're so smart, don't you, Papa? But you forgot something. Give me my phone, Sofia. You forgot that you record everything. All your business calls, all your meetings. You told me it was to protect yourself from lawsuits. Sofia looked up with tears streaming down her face. But you also recorded the night you came into my room drunk. The night you told me exactly what you expected from me now that I was old enough. Roberto's face went deadly pale. You said no one would ever believe me, Sofia continued, her voice getting stronger. But you were wrong. Because you believe in insurance, don't you, Papa? Insurance against everyone who might try to hurt you. Including me. She pressed play on the phone. Roberto's voice filled the room, slurred with alcohol but unmistakably clear. You're not a little girl anymore, Sofia. It's time you started contributing to this family in ways that matter. I have friends who would pay very well for time with a girl like you. Clean, young, from a good family. Sophia's voice on the recording, small and terrified. Papa, please, I don't want to. What you want doesn't matter anymore. Your mother is dead, and I'm all you have. You'll do what I say, or you'll find out what happens to ungrateful daughters. The recording continued for another excruciating minute, with Roberto detailing exactly what he expected Sophia to do, and exactly what would happen to her if she refused. When it ended, the silence in the room was deafening. Roberto sat frozen in his chair, all pretense gone. Victoria looked like she might be sick. The lawyer was already making notes, probably calculating prison sentences. You stupid girl, Roberto said finally, his voice completely different now, cold, threatening, without any trace of the loving father act. You have no idea what you've just done. She's just saved herself, Miguel said quietly. Roberto's eyes fixed on Miguel with pure hatred. And you? You think you're some kind of hero? You're nothing. A homeless nobody who kidnapped a child. I didn't kidnap anyone. I helped a scared girl who was running from a monster. And now everyone knows what kind of monster you really are. Victoria stood up slowly. Roberto, you're going to leave this building right now. You're going to resign from our partnership. You're going to transfer Sophia's custody to me. And you're going to pray that I don't release that recording to every news outlet in the city. You can't. I can, and I will. The only question is whether you go quietly or whether I destroy you publicly first. Roberto looked around the room one more time, seeing his empire crumbling around him. When his eyes fell on Sophia, she didn't flinch anymore. This isn't over, he said quietly. Yes, it is, Sophia replied. It's finally over. After Roberto left, escorted out by security, the room remained tense. The lawyer was already making calls, arranging for protective orders, preparing to involve federal authorities given the interstate implications of Roberto's business dealings. Victoria sank into her chair, looking emotionally drained. I'm so sorry, Sophia. I should have known, should have seen the signs. He's very good at hiding what he is, Sophia said quietly. Even I didn't understand how bad it was until he started bringing those men around. Miguel felt a hand slip into his. Tomas had somehow escaped his babysitter and found his way back to the office. Dad, is Sophia going to be okay now? Miguel looked at Victoria, who nodded slowly. Yeah, Mijo. I think she's going to be fine. But as the adrenaline wore off, Miguel realized that while Sophia's nightmare was ending, his and Tomas's problems remained. They were still homeless, still broke, still facing an uncertain future. Victoria seemed to read his thoughts. Miguel, we need to talk. About what happens next. I know. You've done enough. Sophia is safe now, and that's what matters. Tomas and I will figure something out. Actually, Victoria said, standing up and walking to the windows overlooking the city, I was hoping you might consider working for me. Miguel blinked. Excuse me, I need someone I can trust to head up security for Sophia. Someone who's proven they'll put her safety above everything else. Someone who understands what it means to sacrifice for family. Ms. Castellanos, I appreciate the offer, but I don't have any experience in security. You have the most important qualification, you're willing to do the right thing even when it costs you everything. Victoria turned back to face him. The job comes with housing, healthcare, education funding for Tomas. It's not charity, I genuinely need someone like you. Miguel felt the world spinning around him. 24 hours ago, he'd been sleeping in his car with his son, scraping for change to buy food. Now he was being offered a job, a home, a future. There's just one thing, Victoria continued. Sophia will be living with us too. I'm going to petition for custody, and I want to make sure she has people around her who understand what she's been through. Miguel looked at Sophia, who was watching him hopefully. What do you think, Sophia? Can you handle having us around? Sophia smiled, the first real, unguarded smile he'd seen from her. I'd like that. You and Tomas, you're the first real family I've had since my mother died. As they drove to Victoria's house that evening, in a company car with a full tank of gas and the promise of their own rooms waiting for them, Miguel reflected on how quickly life could change. 24 hours ago, they had nothing. Now they had everything. Dad? Tomas said from the back seat, where he was sharing space with Sophia and a bag of takeout food. Are we rich now? Miguel laughed. No, Mijo. But we're something better than rich. What's that? We're family. Sophia reached over and squeezed Miguel's shoulder. Thank you, she whispered. For everything, Miguel thought about the stranger who had given him $20 for diapers all those years ago, asking only that Miguel help someone else when he could. He'd never imagined that helping one scared girl in the rain would transform all their lives so completely. Sometimes the best insurance against life storms isn't money or power, it's the simple act of opening your door to someone who needs shelter. And sometimes, when you're brave enough to do the right thing, the universe finds a way to take care of you too. As they pulled into the driveway of Victoria's house, their house now, Miguel realized that their real journey was just beginning. They had each other, they had hope, and most importantly, they had learned that family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about the people who choose to stand by you when everything falls apart. The October rain had finally stopped.